Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Academy. I'm Charlie from North Dakota State, and the idea, let's see, there we go. The agenda for today is a brief summary, and then where did FSLI help me? Best practices and lessons learned. So the background of the Academy, and the official name is, there's a logo down at the bottom of the slide. It's about NC means North Central A&R Academy. And it was developed, and the idea was to take this and go national. However, COVID happened, and what was originally an 18-month project turned into a 30-month project. And the nationalizing this kind of took a back seat to completing this. So the background of the Academy, there are really some wicked problems out there within agriculture. And we see it all across the nation. Our people, our stakeholders, our farmers are really becoming very sophisticated, and they have very complex questions. It's just not a simple, what's the seeding rate? They ask questions that have a multitude of facets, and how do we help them? The other thing is we see increased collaboration and competition with the private and the non-governmental organization sectors. It's a challenge to extension. Extension used to have this area all by itself, and there's a lot of competitors now. And one of the things we saw as we got together, and this actually occurred, the original idea was 6 years ago, the A&R program leaders from the North Central region got together, and they're looking at where do we get our talent? And one of the things we came up with or realized that if we're going to get better, we're going to have to grow our own because there's not another program out there. And this is the first program together to do this. So the vision for this program was to prepare the 21st century extension field faculty / staff to be actively engaged in delivering high quality educational programming and technical assistance to commercial farmers, agribusiness, and water resource managers. And so in some of our states, and North Dakota included, for a while there, we were shying away from the big producers, the high tech. We were more and more, we're going to the smaller and smaller, and then to the small farms. And we got together and we said, no, we don't want to give up that space. We do not want to give up our top end producers. We want to be engaged with them, the North Central region, as we looked at that. So that was one of the things we were trying to get after. And so the outcomes, and from the experience, some of the outcomes were for our faculty and staff is lead the conversation, engage in developing solutions, right? Solutions for emerging issues impacting the future of agriculture. And as we said, there's some big, hairy problems out there. The other thing that we saw and said, even though we got some big land grant universities, no one land grant university can have every resource. And so we wanted to develop a multi-state cohort of extension professionals who challenge and support each other. And then we want to add knowledge and capacity to their toolbox. And that toolbox and their capabilities are valued by the people they serve, the whole continuum of agriculture, from your top producers to maybe your backyard or part-time producers. And then the other idea is, as people, we learn by doing. And so we wanted to engage them that through this process, about 18 months, that they would actually have a team project that they would present back to their peers and the target audience, that these resources or whatever they develop could be used across the region. And so we started, this is our third cohort. And so this time we were focusing on water. And I see that Damona logged in here, and Oklahoma State is one out of the southern region that joined us this time around. They're the only one. And so that kind of gave me the idea of can we go national with this? And so we looked at water, and water is fundamental. In Oklahoma, it's usually not enough. And when you get up here in the valley, or across Minnesota, Wisconsin, it's trying to deal with too much water. What do we do with it? And so water quality and quantity challenges in ag landscapes and impacts in the region. Again, we were going to cover the roles and attributes of the 21st century extension professional, talk about communication tools, becoming a high-performing team. A lot of our work is we use a technical issue, but we're actually teaching leadership skills. It's kind of a sneaky way to get to them because most of these people do not see themselves as leaders. Yet when they get done, they are an incredible leadership cohort. Identify high priority water-related priorities, and form teams. That's a tough one. That first session, they come in, they don't know each other, and in 48 hours, they're expected to have formed up teams. They're going to function for 18 months. That's a challenge, and they get very, very there's a little anxiety with that, but that's a little bit by design. Then we have a second session. We talked about weather extremes. How do we do program design? What are drought issues? What are flooding issues? But again, the idea is that we would have a cohort that came together with 4 face-to-face sessions. Well, then COVID hit. And so this has been delayed a whole year. We're coming up to this. So in what we call the white space, we focused a lot on expanding their experiences in areas they thought they wouldn't get to. For instance, we did a whole session on Native Americans, the 1994s. What is a 1994? What is the land grab university? What's important to 1994s, and how do we reach them? How do we work with them? We also did a lot of team building, how to work on teams. The really cool thing is that because of the work we've done in 2 previous cohorts, when COVID hit, these people adapted to Zoom or Teams, but primarily Zoom, really quickly. They had already been in the mode of working using these systems, and so that really worked well. So anyway, in session 3, we're at Minnesota. Session 4, we're going to be in Madison. Nutrients, challenges of managing nutrients, algal blooms, so all water related. But this is where I wanted to get to. This is the schematic that this audience would probably most be interested in. The green boxes are our face-to-faces, and the black boxes are what we do between sessions. And the idea is that we form up teams, and then we get into needs assessment. They come together, define their outcomes. In between, they start finding inputs and outputs, what they need. So session 3 at the bottom, that's cloquet, that's coming up. Develop the draft team program. Between 3 and 4 is where we prep time. This is where they put their near to final presentation. In session 4, they put all their materials together. They have to get ready to do a final webinar. They present to each other. They receive critique from their cohort, and then they put their final program together. And then that post session 4 is present the final webinar. And then we turn right around and come into another cohort. And so this is my plan had been is to take this and turn it in, at least get the southern region, or maybe offer this nationally, and also go after NEFA funding to try and develop this, because the teams that pull out of this, they know how to work across state lines, they know how to get along, but yet we've also instilled a lot of leadership skills within it. And the guiding principles of the team project's relevance, they have to do something that addresses a critical issue, tangible, that they actually create an educational experience. They're not going to write a grant or something like this. They have to actually put something together. The accountable has to be done, well, now it's in a 30-month, but within a 1-year period, and it's transferable, that they can actually share this with their peers and their colleagues. And so we actually up front, we put some expectations for them. They engage, they have to come prepared to the workshops, participate in discussions, contribute to team projects, and then we expect a return on investment. Learn and grow professionally, share within your state with your peers, create and use materials across state lines. And we tell them our expectations are very high, but you were selected. Someone in your system thought you were one of the best, and so we're expecting you to perform like one. And then opportunities and challenges facing farmers and society are complex and global. And then we tell them, you're the future. Just our last session, they asked about, where's the leadership going to come from? And I said, you're looking at it. Look on your screen. You see all these people here? You're it. You're the leadership. You're the ones who are going to have to figure this out. And their impact begins here. All right. So where did FSLI help you? I think the things that really helped me most was about organizational change and creating partnerships, because there were three populations I was working with. The top leader strategies, so those are the deans and directors. They're the ones with the really deep pockets. to try and help them understand what the academy was about. And then how do we, right now we're running on a shoestring, but the results we've seen, the people that have come through it, they have flourished in their careers. And so how can I convince, how do I talk to deans and directors? And then the middle strategies, how do I keep all my colleagues, my A&R program leaders, all engaged on this? Again, we're starting to get some traction within the southern region. Hopefully we'll get more. And then the bottom, empowerment. How do I translate my vision into something that encourages them? So looking at that organizational change, creating partnerships, that was probably the most useful material and sessions I had in FSLI. Best practices, our last session, we spent almost, I'd say 8 hours. These people now, they're fairly new in their careers. They're from 5 to 10 years in there. They're high performers, high potential. But one of the things they came back to us with is, how do we lead from place? Because they have no clout, they have no position, they have nothing really, if you look at a organizational chart, but yet they're leading people who have 30 years experience on them, or they're trying to lead administration, and this is the way they need to go. And so that was one of the best practices that we were able to get across to them. Lessons learned: flex, but don't break. That's probably one personal. And two, and I'm an extrovert, but it takes energy to create excitement and to keep people motivated and keep the project going. Probably that's one of the big things I really learned. And I've just started a 2-year project with big data, and I know it's going to be a slog, but I've also said to myself, but you're going to have to keep that energy level high to keep things moving and keep others engaged and keep going. And I'm going to stop sharing because I